The 10 toughest actors Hollywood ever put on screen. These are 10 actors who didn't just play tough guys on screen. They earned their credentials through military combat, championship fighting, or surviving circumstances that would break most people. Hollywood's full of actors who can convincingly portray warriors and heroes. But the men on this list lived those experiences before they ever stepped in front of a camera. From the most decorated soldier in American history, these actors brought real-life toughness that eclipsed anything their scripts could manufacture. The war heroes. The actors whose toughness was forged in actual warfare start with a man whose story seems almost impossible to believe. Audie Murphy. Audie Murphy remains the most decorated American combat soldier of World War II, and among his 33 awards and decorations was the Medal of Honor, along with every military combat award for valor available from the United States Army, plus French and Belgian awards for heroism. His path to becoming a war hero started in the most humble circumstances imaginable. June 20th, 1925, in Hunt County, Texas, Murphy was born into a large family of sharecroppers, though some records show 1924 because he falsified documents to enlist. When his father abandoned the family and his mother died, Murphy was still a teenager, which meant he left school in 5th grade to pick cotton and find other work to help support his family. This was the background of a boy who would become America's greatest warrior. 19 years old when Murphy received the Medal of Honor for single-handedly holding off a company of German soldiers for an hour at the Colmar Pocket in France in January 1945. From his exposed position on top of a burning tank destroyer, he killed over 20 German soldiers and repelled their attack, then led a successful counterattack while wounded. The final count credited him with killing over 240 enemy soldiers while wounding and capturing many others. And Murphy participated in campaigns across North Africa, Sicily, Italy, France, and Germany. After the war, actor James Cagney saw Murphy's photo on the cover of Life magazine in September 1945 and invited him to Hollywood. Films including The Red Badge of Courage in 1951, To Hell and Back in 1955, and The Quiet American in 1958 followed. But Murphy died on May 28, 1971, at age 45 in a plane crash and was buried with full military honors in Arlington National Cemetery. James Stewart. James Stewart is remembered as one of Hollywood's most beloved actors, but few realize he became the highest-ranking actor in the history of the U.S. Armed Forces. A pilot in the Army Air Force during World War II, Stewart flew 20 combat missions and rose to the rank of colonel, and that wasn't the end of it. Remaining in the United States Air Force Reserve, Stewart was eventually promoted to the rank of Brigadier General in 1959. Lee Marvin. August 12, 1942, Lee Marvin enlisted in the Marine Corps. Taking part in 20 amphibious assaults as a scout sniper in the Pacific theater of World War II, Marvin was struck several times during the assault on Mount Tapochau, but continued fighting. As one of the few survivors from his company, the medals followed: Purple Heart Medal, Presidential Unit Citation, American Campaign Medal, Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal, World War II Victory Medal, and the Combat Action Ribbon. Charles Bronson. The Army drafted Charles Bronson in 1943, and he became a B-29 aerial gunner after a spell of punishment for punching a sergeant. 25 combat missions in the Pacific earned him the Purple Heart for taking a bullet to his shoulder. That tough guy persona Bronson became famous for wasn't an act. It was built on real combat experience. Clark Gable. Peak of his career, that's where Clark Gable stood when his wife, actress Carol Lombard, died in a plane crash while promoting war bonds. Devastated, Gable served in World War II as an Air Force gunner and flew dangerous combat missions, earning respect from his peers. Germany even offered a reward for his capture, recognizing that one of America's biggest stars was now actively fighting against them. Christopher Lee. 6 feet 5 inches tall, Christopher Lee cut an imposing figure, but his wartime service went far beyond his physical presence. An active spy with the RAF during World War II, Lee led missions behind enemy lines across North Africa and Italy, serving in British intelligence and special forces, though many details of his work remained classified throughout his life. The post-war military men. Not all military toughness comes from combat. Sometimes it comes from the discipline and intensity of military training itself. R. Lee Ermey, Ronald Lee Ermey, was born on March 24, 1944, and by age 17, his behavior had become so problematic that his mother took him to a judge. The choice the judge gave young Ermey was between military service or jail, and Ermey chose the military, enlisting in the United States Marine Corps in 1961. Serving as a drill instructor in India Company, 3rd Recruit Training Battalion, at Marine Corps Recruit Depot San Diego from 1965 to 1967, Ermey knew how to break down recruits. In 1968, orders came to send him to South Vietnam with MWSG-17, where he spent 14 months in country. Various injuries sustained during his service led to a medical discharge in 1972. Fame came for Ermey through his role as Gunnery Sergeant Hartman in the 1987 film Full Metal Jacket, which earned him a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Director Stanley Kubrick told Rolling Stone that 50% of Ermey's dialogue in the film was his own. That's how authentic his portrayal was. May 17, 2002, Ermey received an honorary post-service promotion to Gunnery Sergeant from the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General James L. Jones, in recognition of his continuing support to Americans in military service. Complications of pneumonia took him on April 15, 2018, at age 74. Clint Eastwood. Drafted into the Army during the Korean War, Clint Eastwood was stationed at the now-closed Fort Ord in California. Eastwood may not have seen combat during his service, but he survived when his plane crashed into the Pacific Ocean in 1951, swimming 2 miles to shore with his commanding officer. Leaving the service in 1953, he attended LA City College and studied drama on the GI Bill. Chuck Norris. The United States Air Force got Chuck Norris as an air policeman in 1958, and they sent him to Osan Air Base in South Korea. That's where Norris acquired the nickname Chuck and began his training in Tang-Soo-Do, and the Air Force discharged him in August 1962 with the rank of Airman First Class. Norris's toughness credentials extend far beyond his military service. His martial arts career is legendary. Defeated in his first 2 tournaments, dropping decisions to Joe Louis and Alan Steen, and losing 3 rounds at the International Karate Championships to Tony Talenners, Norris learned from those defeats. In 1969, during the first weekend of August, Norris defended his title as world champion at the International Karate Championship, retained his title, and won karate's Triple Crown for the most tournament wins of the year, plus the Fighter of the Year award by Black Belt Magazine. 6-time undefeated world professional middleweight karate champion. That's what he became. Black belts in Tang-Soo-Do at the 9th degree, Taekwondo at the 8th degree, Karate at the 5th degree, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the 3rd degree, and Judo at the 1st degree. Norris collected them all. In 1997, he became the first man ever in the Western Hemisphere to be awarded an 8th degree black belt Grandmaster recognition in the Taekwondo martial arts system, and he even founded his own discipline, Chun Kuk Do, in 1990. In 1972, Norris acted as Bruce Lee's nemesis in the widely acclaimed martial arts movie Way of the Dragon, which grossed over 5.3 million Hong Kong dollars at the Hong Kong box office, making it the highest-grossing film of 1972 in Hong Kong. And here's something unexpected. In 1991, Norris and his team, with sponsor Popeye's Chicken, won the World Offshore Powerboat Championships. The martial arts legend's Bruce Lee. November 27, 1940, in San Francisco, California, Bruce Lee was born. Growing up in Hong Kong, Lee was introduced to the entertainment industry at an early age, as his father was an opera singer and part-time actor. As a teenager, he took up with local gangs and began learning kung fu to better defend himself, and in 1958, Lee won the Hong Kong Cha-Cha Championship. Dancing wasn't where Lee would make his mark, though. Developing a martial art technique called Jeet Kune Do, a blend of ancient kung fu, fencing, boxing, and philosophy, Lee began teaching it instead of traditional martial arts. To give you a sense of his power, Bruce Lee could send a 300-pound bag flying with one kick. Enter the Dragon was Bruce Lee's final completed film appearance before his death on July 20th, 1973, at the age of 32. The film was estimated to have grossed over $400 million worldwide, equivalent to an estimated $2 billion adjusted for inflation as of 2022, against a budget of $850,000. The most successful martial arts film ever. That's what it remains, and it's widely regarded as one of the greatest martial arts films of all time. In 1974, Bruce Lee was inducted into the Black Belt Hall of Fame as Man of the Year and Martial Artist of the Year. Swelling of the brain caused by an allergic reaction to a headache medication, that was Lee's official cause of death. Beyond his martial arts prowess, Lee is often credited with changing the way Asian people were presented in American films. What separates these 10 actors from the countless others who've played tough guys on screen is simple: authenticity. Audie Murphy didn't need to imagine what combat looked like. He lived through some of the most intense fighting of World War II and emerged as America's most decorated soldier. Bruce Lee didn't just choreograph martial arts for the camera. He revolutionized martial arts philosophy and could demonstrate power that seemed superhuman. Something these men brought to the screen that no amount of acting training can replicate: the confidence, the bearing, and the quiet intensity that comes from having genuinely tested yourself in the most extreme circumstances life can offer. Whether it was flying combat missions over Nazi Germany, winning world martial arts championships, surviving plane crashes, each of these actors proved their toughness long before Hollywood came calling. The next time you watch one of their films, remember, that isn't just acting you're seeing, it's the real thing.